Hello and welcome to episode 12 of Feed the Beast Infinity Evolved Skyblock, and in this episode we're going to be covering nuclear reactors. Nuclear reactors are something that requires a lot of time and a lot of investment of resources in getting them set up and running. Before we start all that, let's go down here. I'm starting to build a bit of a base down here, and here's some basic storage system here using storage drawers. This is a storage controller, and the storage drawers here, you just put what you need going into them, and then once the storage controller knows, say for example this iron ingot knows where the iron ingot goes, you can just place them in here or forget about them, or put in lead ingots, iron ingots, all sorts of ingots, and let the storage controller just place them wherever you go, where you go off and do your business. So that's pretty easy to do. And this is the uranium rod creation setup. This is a macerator. It macerates all sorts of things, but it also macerates lapis lazuli to make lapis lazuli dust. The only trouble with this, it's pretty slow if you haven't got any upgrades going on it. But what I tend to do is I use the sag mill, which is slightly quicker, only about 5 or 6 seconds to create the lapis lazuli dust on that, whereas the macerator takes at least double the amount of time on that one. And that creates the stuff that you'll use to make IC2 coolant in the fluid solid canning machine. I'm not going to be showing that, but in this episode anyway, because I'm concentrating more on the nuclear side of things. Next up, the oil washer, or ore washer. So basically, there are easier ways of getting the water into the plant, but for demonstration purposes, I'm just going to go this way like that. And that fills up water. And crushed uranium ore you place there, and you can see it working away. Let's stop that now. Gets on your nerves after a while, that noise. That makes purified crushed uranium ore, and then you place them in the thermal centrifuge. And once you've placed something in there and connected to power, of course, it takes a short while for the heat to build up, but once the heat has built up to 3000, it starts converting the purified crushed uranium ore, and you'll see in a few moments what will that turn into. So while we're waiting for that, make sure that you build a scuba helmet, hazmat suit leggings and rubber boots, because once you start handling, and also the containment box as well, once you start handling uranium, tiny piles of uranium and fuel rods and such, you can imagine what radiation will start doing to you. There's been many a time where I've swapped the jetpack out and the hazmat suit, and it's causes a lot of problems. So is that done yet? That's done that. Let's put that in there. It's still about halfway through. So what else shall we go through before we get to the canning machine? A bit of redstone energy cell. This holds 20 million RF. and you can set the max input of RF to a certain point, and then you can set the max output as well. This is just demonstration, so I can put down like that. Okay. Also, because the nuclear reactor needs a lot of resources to set up, I set up 2 metal formers, which starts making all types of casings and plates and cables and such as that, and also fuel rods as well, because it does take a lot to build up. Took a lot of time to actually just get that one in the distance over there, which we'll be looking at shortly. So are we done yet? Yep, it's starting now. Just a few more moments. Yep, so you've got uranium, and you've also got a tiny pile of uranium. If I go in here, if we go over to the crafting station and do that like so, you'll get enriched uranium nuclear fuel. And then all you need to do is just put this in the canning machine and make sure that you set it to canning. Place the nuclear fuel in that box there in the centre, and fuel rods up there, and you'll get a uranium fuel rod. And get 4 of those rods, and all you need to do is just put iron plates there, copper plates there, and then 4 of these fuel rods all dotted in the corners, and you should get a quad fuel rod here. Okie dokie, so that's that. So now onto the reactor components and the reactor itself. In the middle there, I'm not going to destroy any of these because these might just turn into useless pieces of trash. But in the middle of there, in the middle of all this, is the nuclear reactor, and these are the chambers that leads off it. You need a lever. You'll need something that will fill up like a capacitor of some sort to put the energy into. And this is all the parts needed. You need 4 60k coolant cells. You need a bunch of component heat vents, overclocked heat vents, and component heat exchangers. And this is the setup I got off the internet. This is the safest setup. You can find it on the Feed the Beast website wiki. And what you have to do is just place the 4 quad fuel rods in there, start her up, and you're getting 320 EU per tick, and hopefully that should be filling up, and it is. Yeah, that's filling up nice and easy. This is the safe way of doing it. There are other ways, but I didn't want to sort of start experimenting. With these things, you've got to be careful when you build one of these nuclear reactors. There are sort of blast resistant blocks that you can build. It's a ball ache to make. I suggest, if you've never built one of these things before and you're feeling a little bit you're not too confident, then yeah, build those blast resistant bricks, or build this at least, I think, 200 to 250 blocks away from your main base, because when these things blow up, they blow up big time, as you can imagine. So I'm probably being a bit brave doing it that way, but I know that this works. And it'll take, eventually these will deplete after about two or 3 hours or so, and then you have to replace them. But the power that it gives you is absolutely brilliant. As I say, a lot of time to make, a lot of resources, and you have to be careful with it. Don't go mad, don't go nuts, because if those things overheat, yeah, you'll be having not a very nice day. And that is it for this episode. When you get to nuclear age on here, things tend to slow down a bit in terms of progression. So I will be covering other aspects, other mods, like perhaps something like agrocraft and Thorncraft, and other mods that you use that you can use in this great pack. Okie dokie, that is it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye.